Football is a game of stories, of players who defy logic and leave a lasting impression. Not because they're the best, but because they're unforgettable. Andy Carroll wasn't the most consistent striker, and his injury record could fill a medical textbook. But here's the thing. When he scored, he didn't just score goals. He scored absolute bangers. Towering headers that seemed to defy gravity, volleys that made jaws drop, and left-footed rockets that looked like they belonged in a different sport entirely. This is the tale of Andy Carroll, a player who could dominate one moment and disappear the next, whose highlights remained etched in football's memory forever. Born in Gateshead, Carroll grew up under the shadow of St. James Park, where dreams of football greatness collided with the fervent passion of Newcastle United fans. By 2006, he had broken into the first team, a raw talent with limitless potential. At 6'4", with a ponytail and a devil-may-care attitude, he embodied the old-school English center forward, a battering ram designed for the chaos of the Premier League. Carroll wasn't just a player. He was a local lad, carrying the hopes of a city on his broad shoulders. The 2009-10 season was Carroll's breakout moment. 17 goals in the championship propelled Newcastle back into the Premier League. His aerial dominance and physicality made him unplayable at times, but he wasn't all brute force. Carroll's left foot packed finesse and power, a deadly combination that made defenders' lives miserable. It wasn't just that he scored goals, it was how he scored them. Headers that felt like guided missiles, strikes from distance that seemed to defy physics, and a presence in the box that demanded attention. January 2011 was a whirlwind for Newcastle fans. Fresh off their Premier League return, their hometown hero was snatched away in one of the most shocking transfers in English football history. Liverpool, desperate to replace Fernando Torres, shelled out a staggering £35 million to bring Carroll to Anfield. It was a move that stunned the footballing world. Suddenly, the boy from Gateshead was the most expensive British footballer in history. The pressure was immense, and the weight of the price tag hung heavy around his neck. At Liverpool, Carroll struggled to find his place. Injuries hampered his progress, and comparisons to the electrifying Luis Suarez, who joined the same month, were unavoidable. But even during a challenging spell, there were flashes of brilliance. His thunderous strike against Manchester City in 2012, a left-footed cannon from 25 yards, was vintage Carroll. For a brief moment, it looked like Carroll might justify his price tag, but for every moment of magic, there were matches where he faded into obscurity. By 2013, Liverpool had moved on, and Carroll was sold to West Ham for half of what they paid. It was a humbling chapter, but one that set the stage for a new opportunity. At West Ham, Carroll found a club that embraced his old-school style. The fans adored his physicality and his ability to unsettle defenses. When he was on the pitch, Carroll was unplayable, capable of winning aerial duels, bullying defenders, and scoring outrageous goals. But therein lay the problem. He was rarely on the pitch. In 2017, Carroll produced one of the greatest goals in Premier League history, a bicycle kick against Crystal Palace that defied gravity and logic. It was a moment of sheer audacity and brilliance, a reminder of why clubs kept taking a chance on him despite his injury record. But those moments were fleeting, and injuries continued to plague his career. Carroll's greatest rival wasn't a defender or a goalkeeper. It was his own body. Knee injuries, ankle problems, and muscle tears haunted him, turning his time on the treatment table into a cruel punchline. But behind the jokes was a player who refused to give up. Carroll's resilience was remarkable. Every comeback was a testament to his love for the game and his determination to keep going. In 2019, Carroll returned to Newcastle United. It wasn't the triumphant return fans might have dreamed of. Carroll was older, slower, and no longer the focal point of the club. But for Newcastle supporters, seeing him back in black and white was enough. It wasn't about what he could do on the pitch anymore. It was about what he represented, a connection to the past, a hometown hero coming home. In June 2020, Andy Carroll agreed to a one-year extension with Newcastle United. On the 3rd of January in 2021, Carroll reminded everyone what he could do, scoring his first goal for Newcastle since returning, a classic finish in a 2-1 loss to Leicester City. It wasn't the fairy tale comeback many had hoped for, but it was still a moment of pride for Carroll and the fans who'd always believed in him. After 2 seasons back at St. James Park, Carroll's second spell came to an end in July 2021. But he wasn't done yet. The next chapter of his career would take him to some surprising places, proving once again that while Andy Carroll wasn't the most conventional striker, he was always an intriguing one. In November 2021, Carroll signed a short-term deal with Reading, stepping into the championship as a seasoned veteran. He scored his first goal for the club in a thrilling 3-2 win against Swansea City. But his contract came to an end, so did his short but memorable stint with the Royals. Later that same month, Carroll joined West Bromwich Albion, taking on another short-term challenge. His debut wasn't the stuff of dreams, an away loss to Millwall, but in true Carroll fashion, he found his moment on the 12th of March 2022. He scored a dramatic equalizer in the 85th minute against Huddersfield Town, proving that he still had a knack for clutch goals. Despite his efforts, Carroll parted ways with West Brom at the end of the season. If there's one thing Andy Carroll's career has taught us, it's that you can never predict his next move. And in September 2022, he returned to Reading, this time on a 4-month contract that saw him don the unusual number 2 shirt, a quirky detail for a player who's always been a bit unconventional. By January 2023, he'd signed an extension, committing to the Royals until mid-2024, but even that chapter had an unexpected twist. In August 2023, Carroll activated a release clause, bringing his Reading adventure to a close. Just a day after leaving Reading, Carroll made his next surprise move, joining French Ligue 2 side Amiens, which is odd because I played a whole career on Football Manager with Amiens. Actually, I think Carroll might have been a great addition. It was a brief stint in France, but Carroll wasn't finished with surprises. In September 2024, Carroll took another unexpected turn, joining Championnat National 2, Club Bordeaux. And in true Carroll fashion, he made an immediate impact, scoring twice on his debut in a dramatic 2-2 draw. Even at this stage of his career, Carroll was proving he could still produce moments of magic, no matter where he played. Andy Carroll's career has been anything but ordinary. From his record-breaking move to Liverpool to his return to Newcastle, from Reading to Amiens and Bordeaux, Carroll has been a journeyman in the truest sense. But through it all, one thing has remained constant: his ability to deliver unforgettable moments. He wasn't the most prolific striker. He wasn't the most consistent. But when Andy Carroll stepped onto the pitch, you couldn't take your eyes off of him. Because whether it was a towering header, a bicycle kick, or a surprise move to France, Andy Carroll has always been one thing: unforgettable. And let's be honest, how many other players can say they've been the mediocre striker who only scored bangers in both the Premier League and League 2? That's a legacy all in its own.